You are 14 years old. The temple walls smell of incense and old stone. Gold light flickers across your bare shoulders as the high priest places a lotus crown upon your head. You are chosen, he whispers. Chosen to serve the goddess, to guard purity, to walk untouched among men. But when the doors close, the chanting stops. The goddess is silent, and the hands that bless begin to take. They said you would be sacred. They never said whose sacredness you would serve. You are 14 years old. The temple walls are alive with the scent of burning incense, sharp and sweet, curling around the cool stone like a living thing. Gold light flickers across your bare shoulders, catching on the delicate curve of your collarbone as the high priest steps forward. His hands, calloused yet precise, lift a lotus crown and place it upon your head. You are chosen, he whispers, his voice low, a current that both thrills and terrifies you. Chosen to serve the goddess, to guard purity, to walk untouched among men. The words echo in the chamber, reverberating against walls inscribed with hieroglyphs of women offering lilies to faceless gods. Outside, your parents watch, their faces glowing with pride, believing that their daughter has been granted divine favor. They do not see the shadow in the priest's eyes, the way his gaze lingers just a moment too long. The temple hums with life, attendants moving in silent precision, the gentle scrape of sandals across polished stone, the distant drone of a sacred chant that threads through the air like a river of sound. You step forward, heart pounding, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down as surely as the crown upon your head. Rituals follow ritual, offerings of bread and wine, the lighting of torches that smell of myrrh and ash, hands brushing yours under the guise of blessing. Each gesture, meant to feel divine, carries a subtle undertone of possession. You are taught how to bow, how to speak in measured tones, how to lower your eyes in reverence. Every smile is carefully measured, every movement watched. And beneath the grandeur, beneath the golden light and whispered prayers, a whisper of unease grows inside you. This holiness, this honor, feels less like freedom, more like chains slowly wrapping around your wrists. You are lauded, celebrated, exalted, and yet already you are no longer entirely your own. They said you would be sacred, but sacred to whom? The days after the ceremony blur together, a rhythm of prayer, silence, and obedience. Dawn light spills through carved stone slats, painting the walls with the shapes of sacred birds and lotus flowers. Every morning begins the same, the ringing of bronze bells, the washing of hands in cool water, the whispered recitation of hymns you do not yet understand. You were told you are now of the goddess, belonging to no man. But as the days pass, the meaning of those words begins to change. Priestesses teach you how to move, how to walk with lowered eyes, how to speak softly, how to let your silence please them more than your voice. You learn the gestures of purity, fingers pressed together, head bowed just enough to show respect, but never resistance. Every act of worship is rehearsed perfection, and every mistake earns a tightening of control. The high priest's presence grows heavier. He watches from the shadows of the great hall, his golden amulet catching the firelight. When he blesses you, his hand rests too long upon your shoulder, his breath too close, his smile too practiced. You tell yourself it is holiness, not hunger, that you feel radiating from him. And yet, at night, when the temple is silent and only the sound of oil lamps crackling fills the air, you begin to sense the lie beneath the rituals. The goddess they speak of, pure, untouched, eternal, feels less like a protector and more like a mask worn by men who call their desires divine. You kneel before her statue, the alabaster face expressionless, eyes carved to look toward heaven. You whisper your confusion into the stillness. If I am yours, why do I feel owned? The question lingers in the incense-thick air, unanswered, unwelcome, and entirely human. That night, the temple doors close with a sound like thunder. The laughter and hymns fade. The corridors grow cold. A handmaid leads you to a small chamber lit by a single oil lamp. Stone walls, bare floor, no window. The air smells of wax and old smoke. She leaves without a word, and you are alone. You sit upon the mat they've given you, still wearing the ceremonial dress, white linen damp with the day's sweat. The silence is not peaceful. It presses in, thick and suffocating. Every creak of stone feels like a whisper. Every flicker of flame feels like an eye. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate. The door opens, and the same high priest stands before you. The light from his torch paints his face in amber and shadow. His tone is soft, almost kind, as he speaks words you've already heard 100 times that day. You are chosen. You are sacred. But this time, the words sound different. You realize, too late, what service means inside these walls. The goddess remains silent, and in that silence your voice, the one that once prayed, once sang, dies quietly inside you when dawn breaks, the chants begin again. The temple rises with its usual splendor. No one speaks of the night. No one ever does. You walk among them, a vessel of purity, a symbol of devotion, and not a soul can see the chain around your spirit. They said you would be sacred. But sacred to whom? The temple is more than a house of worship. It is a city within a city, a labyrinth of stone corridors, sunlit courtyards, and shadowed chambers, where power flows like the Nile in flood. The priests are its masters, not merely servants of the gods. They speak in measured tones, write in precise hieroglyphs, and manipulate offerings and favors like coins. You begin to notice it slowly. A loaf of bread delivered to a priest's chamber, not for the goddess, but for influence. Land ceded to the temple, not to feed the people, but to fund secret ceremonies, gold poured into hidden treasuries while the surrounding village starved. Every ritual, every chant, every offering carries a double meaning, and within this machine, the sacred virgins are currency, not in the obvious sense, not written on any scroll in ink, but in subtle ways that only those inside can see. A girl selected for the goddess brings honor to her family, yes, but she also ensures the priest's power, a living testament to their control over faith, over desire, over wealth. The high priest glides through the halls, robes rustling like dry leaves. He smiles at visiting officials, at wealthy landowners. His eyes glance briefly toward you. The girl in the corner learning the prayers, you feel it, the unspoken truth. They are all part of a transaction, and you, golden, pure, obedient, are at the center. The corridors echo with the laughter of novices and the whispers of shadows. A scribe murmurs in the corner, copying accounts of grain, gold, and labor. Your small hands tremble as you memorize the hymns. But what is being counted is not devotion alone. It is your body, your obedience, your very presence as proof of the temple's reach. Even the goddess's name is enlisted in this commerce. Her blessings are promises used to justify, her symbols invoked to hide the transaction. You kneel before the statue of alabaster perfection, and a chill slides down your spine. She is silent, but the priests speak loudly, louder than any god could hope to be heard. The temple does not worship, it trades, and you are the most sacred coin of them all. Within the temple, each day is a performance. The sacred virgins move through rituals as if their bodies were instruments in an orchestra. Every step, every gesture, every whispered prayer carries meaning beyond devotion. Your hands must be folded just so, your voice soft yet precise, your eyes lowered in reverence. The goddess is never touched. The priests and high officials, however, observe. The virgins are symbols, living embodiments of purity and obedience, icons made flesh. They walk the corridors during processions, their white robes flowing like water, their eyes carefully averted. Worshippers offer tribute at the altar, and the temple's power grows, but so does the silent tally of what these girls endure. Training is relentless. You learn which incense to burn, which hymns to recite, and the subtleties of eye contact that can avoid punishment. But no one tells you how to protect your own body from the hands that linger to bless. You are taught devotion, but you are never taught consent. Every day, you see girls who falter, who cry behind closed doors, and the price they pay is swift, unseen by the outside world. Rituals are layered with meaning. A simple offering of bread or flour is not only for the goddess, it is a test, a message to the priests, a reminder of who truly holds power. The virgins become vessels of status, devotion, and wealth, their every action observed, judged, and recorded. And in the quiet moments when the torchlight flickers across the marble floor, you feel the weight of your own presence. You are beautiful, obedient, sacred, and yet already a possession. Purity is celebrated, obedience is rewarded, freedom is an illusion no one dares to name. Beyond the temple walls, the city moves in its own rhythm, unaware of the transactions that occur within the sacred halls. Pilgrims arrive with gifts, merchants bring tributes, officials deliver taxes, gold, grain, and incense flow like blood through the veins of this religious empire. And at the center of it all, the sacred virgins, living, breathing offerings, are the hidden linchpins. Each girl represents more than devotion. She is proof of the temple's power, a bargaining chip in the unspoken economy. A wealthy landowner sees her kneeling before the statue and knows she validates his gifts. A visiting priest counts her obedience as evidence of his influence. Her name, her face, her silence, all are part of a ledger invisible to anyone who does not serve the goddess. The markets outside the temple thrive, unaware of the price paid in quiet suffering. Inside, the high priest distributes blessings to those who give generously, offering the illusion of divine favor while the virgins themselves become invisible. Their movements, their prayers, their very existence are traded in an economy that worships wealth and control more than any god. At night, when the city sleeps, the temple hums with secret activity. The virgins move through hidden corridors, carrying incense, water, and the weight of unspeakable expectation. Each step reminds them that their lives are not their own. Each ritual a reminder that devotion has a price. You stand before the goddess once more, hands trembling, heart heavy. The world outside is golden and alive, but here, purity is currency, and innocence is a debt you cannot repay. The goddess watches silently, the priests tally loudly, and the virgins, sacred, obedient, unseen, endure. Doubt creeps like smoke in the temple corridors. At first, it is subtle, a flicker in the corner of your mind as you watch the high priest pass, gold amulet swinging, eyes glinting like polished obsidian. You repeat the prayers, fold your hands, lower your gaze, and tell yourself you serve the goddess. Yet a question refuses to die. Why does devotion feel like fear? The temple is a palace of control. Every whispered chant, every ritualized gesture, every sigh of incense is designed to remind you of your place. When a girl falters, when her voice wavers in prayer or her gaze wanders, the punishment is swift and invisible. Perhaps it is a look, a subtle tightening of a cord, a door left unlocked at night, a threat without explanation. One morning, Merit Ani, a girl 2 years older than you, hesitates during the offering. Her hand trembles as she places the lily upon the altar. The high priest notices. He approaches, calm but precise, a smile that feels like a blade. The goddess sees all, he intones, and the hall seems to shrink around her. That night, she is absent from the dormitory, and whispers run through the temple like wildfire. No one speaks openly, but everyone knows what happens to those who doubt you begin to measure your own thoughts. Prayer becomes a shield, silence a refuge. Fear is not just punishment, it is a teacher. It sculpts your obedience with invisible hands. And yet, in the quiet of the night, when candlelight trembles against stone, the thought returns. Is this holiness? Or something far darker? Every chant now carries a shadow. Every offering feels like a test. Every glance from a priest is a question you dare not answer aloud. The goddess, once your imagined protector, seems distant, silent, or perhaps indifferent. The only voices that reach you are human, and human desires are not divine. Doubt is dangerous, fear is constant, and faith is a fragile mask worn over the truth. Confession is not for the gods, it is for control. Each morning, you are summoned to kneel before the high priest, your sins weighed not against morality, but against obedience. You confess thoughts that dare not exist, feelings that the temple cannot allow. Your guilt is his tool, your shame his currency. You are taught to conceal everything else. A slip of the tongue, a fleeting glance, a lingering thought, each must be buried, hidden beneath layers of ritual and fear. You learn quickly how to appear serene while your mind reels with questions. How can worship be pure when those who administer it thrive on secrecy and desire? How can obedience be devotion when it strips you of your own will? The priest watches, always watching. One moment, he offers a soft hand to guide you through the ritual. The next, his presence presses down like stone. Every interaction is loaded with meaning, and every smile carries threat. You speak in measured tones, practice the right cadence, and nod when commanded. Yet inside, a storm grows, a tempest of fear, confusion, and quiet rebellion. At night, you write invisible letters in the margins of your prayer scrolls, tracing thoughts in the shadows where no eye can see, words of despair, of longing, of forbidden understanding. These small acts of concealment give you a strange sense of freedom, though it is fragile and dangerous. Each hidden confession is a tiny rebellion, a whisper to yourself that you are still here, still human, still conscious. The temple walls seem to breathe with secrecy. You learn to read the flicker of candlelight for danger, the silence between chants for warning. Every step, every breath, every prayer is a negotiation not with the gods, but with those who wield their names as chains. Faith becomes a performance, devotion a mask, and the line between worship and survival is thinner than a whisper. Night comes with a different kind of terror. Sleep does not offer solace. Instead, dreams twist the temple into a maze of shadow and light. In one vision, the goddess herself steps forward, alabaster and serene, yet her eyes are empty. Behind her, corridors stretch endlessly, doors creaking open to reveal priests in robes, faces half hidden, hands poised with silent intent. You wander these halls, heart pounding, as the familiar becomes strange. Statues seem to watch you, their carved eyes judging shadows reach toward you like long fingers, and you realize the nightmare is not only a dream, it is memory, fear, and anticipation all tangled together. Every corridor, every door, every whispered chant echoes the reality you endure in the waking world. A particular door calls to you, forbidden and radiant. Something lies beyond it, a secret too vast and terrible to name. You press your hand against the cold wood in the dream, feeling its grain beneath your palm, and a shiver of recognition runs through you. That door does not exist for the faithful, it exists only for those who see the truth behind the temple's golden veil. You wake drenched in sweat, the torchlight flickering, the scent of incense suffocating. The nightmare clings to you, a reminder of what is unseen but ever present. The priest's control, the goddess's silence, the system's indifference. Even in rest, there is no escape, no sanctuary, and yet deep within, a spark lingers. A question, small but unyielding. If the goddess is silent, what power remains in my hands? The temple's beauty is a mask, its rituals are a cage, and you, sacred, obedient, hidden, begin to understand that survival will require more than devotion. It will require cunning, secrecy, and the courage to question what others dare not. The temple wakes to whispers. Merit Ani is gone. She was the one who had faltered months before, trembling at the altar, yet she had survived the punishment, or so it seemed. Now the corridors are hushed, the girls glancing at one another with wide eyes, mouths pressed tight. Even the attendants who usually bustle through the halls move slower, careful not to disturb the invisible tension hanging in the incense-thick air. No one speaks her name aloud. It is forbidden. But the silence screams louder than any accusation. The high priest does not announce her disappearance. There is no record, no ceremony to mark it. The absence itself is the message. Those who saw Merit Ani last remember the tremor in her hands, the fear in her eyes, and the courage that led her to question, to defy, to hope. You kneel in the chapel, staring at the goddess's cold stone face, and the truth settles like dust in your chest. The goddess does not intervene, she never has, and the priests, the masters of gold, flame, and ritual wield silence as punishment, letting fear ripple outward like sand across the desert. You recall Merit Ani's quiet defiance, the way she spoke once to a visiting official, the subtle tilt of her head that suggested thought beyond obedience. It seems almost miraculous now that anyone could resist at all, and yet miracles in the temple come at a price. Your own heart pounds as you retrace the steps she might have taken. A door left ajar, a shadow along the corridor, a flicker of torchlight that moves too deliberately. The temple has no mercy for curiosity, no grace for courage. Merit Ani's fate is a warning etched into the stones. Obedience is survival, questioning is erasure, and you, kneeling before the unblinking eyes of the goddess, feel the first cold bite of despair. Devotion, once a shield, now feels like chains. The temple carries on as if nothing has changed. Chants echo through the halls, incense curls upward, and the high priest moves among the novices with his usual air of calm authority. Yet the absence of Merit Ani looms over every ritual, every whispered prayer. The girls know speaking is dangerous, thinking is dangerous, hope is dangerous. You notice how quickly the fear settles into routine. Every glance, every hesitation is scrutinized. You kneel, recite, and bow with precision, aware of every flicker of movement around you. Silence becomes a form of discipline, not devotion. You are learning, unwillingly, that obedience is measured in absence of complaint, absence of questions, absence of dissent. In the dormitory, a girl coughs too loudly. The high priest's shadow crosses the doorway, lingering just long enough to send a message without words. The air thickens, the girls stiffen, and the lesson is clear. Silence is survival, and the temple punishes the body that dares to speak. You begin to calculate your every thought. Could a misstep, a glance, a fleeting hesitation be enough to summon the same fate that claimed Merit Ani? Confession is no longer a spiritual act, it is a shield against erasure. You hide small truths in private corners, your thoughts, your fears, your tiny rebellions, because the temple allows no room for honesty. Even in the public rituals, the lessons are clear. Obedience is not honored for virtue, it is demanded for control. Devotion, the very thing you were taught to revere, is wielded as a weapon against your spirit. You kneel before the goddess, whispering your prayers through lips that tremble, and the silence that follows is louder than any reprimand. The trial of silence is unending, a crucible where the spirit bends, shatters, or hides beneath its own fear. The night is heavy. Candlelight flickers along the stone walls, casting long, shivering shadows. You hear the soft echo of footsteps, deliberate, measured, inevitable. The high priest stands before you, his face calm, his gaze sharp. No words are needed at first. The silence itself carries the weight of judgment. Then he speaks, low and precise. You know what happens to those who forget their place. His words are simple, yet they ripple through your chest like stones dropped into still water. Every movement, every heartbeat, every thought you dare to harbor is being watched. Obedience is no longer voluntary. It is the thin line between life and disappearance. You nod, unable to speak, your lips pressed tight, your body rigid. Inside, a storm rages, grief for Meritani, fear for yourself, anger at the goddess who remains silent, and a slow, burning recognition of the true nature of the temple. Power is sacred, virtue is optional, and the girls you included are vessels of both. The high priest turns away without another word. The door closes behind him with a finality that echoes in your chest. Alone, you press your hands to your face, tasting the metallic tang of tears. Devotion, once a guiding light, is now a cage. The rituals, the prayers, the hymns, they have not protected you, they have bound you. And yet, even in this terror, a thought persists. If Meritani could vanish, then even the goddess cannot save us. The temple exhales, the candles gutter, and you realize survival requires more than obedience. It requires vigilance, cunning, and the quiet courage to endure. The priest has warned you, the silence teaches you, and in the space between, your spirit learns to bend without breaking, at least for now. By now, the temple no longer frightens you in the same way. Fear still coils in the shadows, but a new flame has taken root, a quiet defiance, delicate as the whisper of silk across stone. You begin to bend the rules in ways that the priests cannot see, embedding tiny acts of rebellion into the very rituals meant to bind you. The secret hymn begins as a murmur in your heart. During morning prayers, when the novices' voices rise in perfect, unbroken unison, you alter a single note, a subtle shift in cadence, imperceptible to the priest's ears but alive in your own spirit. You trace forbidden symbols along the margins of scrolls, letters that form words of memory and warning for those who might follow you. Every small act feels dangerous, intoxicating, and sacred. The temple has claimed your body, your obedience, your very name, but it cannot touch these secret murmurs. They are yours, hidden beneath the weight of devotion, carried in the quiet spaces between chants. You write your truth in invisible ink, in flickers of song, in the subtle inflections of your voice, where no one can accuse you of disobedience. At night, alone in your chamber, you whisper the hymn to yourself, letting the words twist through the air, echoing off cold stone. They are prayers and confessions, warnings and oaths, a clandestine language that no one can see but you. The goddess's statue looms above, alabaster and unyielding, and though she remains silent, you feel her presence as witness, or perhaps conspirator, in your quiet rebellion. The other girls move around you, oblivious, unaware that the world of the temple is beginning to shift beneath their feet. And in that silence, in the smallest of gestures, you reclaim a part of yourself the temple could not consume. Even in chains, the spirit finds a song. The goddess is everywhere. Her alabaster eyes seem to follow you through corridors, across courtyards, and into chambers where secrets are whispered and prayers are bent. At first, it is disquieting, almost terrifying, the weight of divinity staring silently as your thoughts turn audacious. Yet soon you realize that her gaze is not judgmental, it is indifferent. And in that indifference you find freedom. You begin to experiment subtly. A prayer altered here, a gesture reshaped there. No one notices. The priests glide past, absorbed in their rituals, blind to the quiet subversion taking root in the novices' ranks. Each time you succeed without reprisal, the hymn in your heart grows louder. It is no longer a murmur but a steady pulse. a lifeline in the shadows of the temple. The girls notice small things, the way scrolls are marked in invisible ink, the subtle inflection of a chant that shifts meaning ever so slightly. Some are too frightened to act, but you see flickers of understanding in their eyes, a spark of rebellion they dare not nurture openly. The goddess's statues stand silent, hands folded, lips sealed, eyes fixed upon eternity. And yet, you imagine them watching, secret allies in a world ruled by human greed and lust. Your defiance is tiny, almost laughable against the machinery of priests and gold, but it is enough to remind yourself that even the smallest resistance has power. The temple may bind the body, claim obedience, and tally devotion in gold, but it cannot imprison the mind that dares to question. The night of the eclipse is unlike any other. The moon, a pale eye in the sky, slowly darkens, casting long shadows across the temple and its courtyards. Torches flicker in unnatural patterns, and the temple seems to hold its breath. You stand in the highest tower, scrolls hidden beneath your robe, hands tracing invisible words along the margins. The eclipse is a mirror of your own rebellion, a moment when light and shadow clash, when the familiar is altered, and when the impossible seems just within reach. The priests chant below, unaware that their carefully orchestrated rituals are being quietly rewritten, that the hymns rising into the night air carry secret messages of defiance and truth. You whisper your hymn aloud, letting the sound ripple through the stone corridors. It mingles with the wind, with the scent of incense, with the distant chant of the novices. Each note is deliberate, a thread woven into the temple's fabric, imperceptible yet potent. The goddess's statues watch silently, and for the first time, her silence feels like an ally rather than an absence. Shadows stretch long, blending with torchlight, and you feel the weight of centuries of obedience pressing down. And yet, in this night, a flicker of hope ignites. The hymn is no longer only for yourself, it is a seed for others, a promise that even the smallest act of courage can echo beyond walls, beyond fear, beyond stone. The moon is swallowed, then slowly returns, pale and trembling. So too does your courage. Quietly, you return to your chamber, heart steady, mind alert. The rebellion is small, almost invisible, but it exists. And in the temple that has claimed so much, that small rebellion is everything. Even in silence, the spirit can rise. Even under shadow, the truth can live. The desert is quiet, save for the scraping of brushes against stone and the muted clink of tools uncovering secrets long buried. Archaeologists move carefully, aware that beneath the sands of Egypt lie centuries of lives hidden, lives once revered, feared, and silenced. Your story, though centuries old, emerges through their hands. Fragments of pottery, shards of scrolls, and the faint outline of a lotus crown hint at the girls who walked the temple halls. The air is dry, heavy with dust, yet charged with the weight of revelation. Each uncovered object is a whisper from the past, a fragment of truth waiting to be heard. Bones lie in neat rows, small and delicate, their positions suggesting care and ritual even in death. Papyri crumble in fingers, the ink faded, but the words still hint at the lives once hidden behind stone walls. The researchers pause, exchanging solemn glances. Every object, every mark, is a story of devotion, fear, obedience, and resistance. The lotus crown, tarnished and broken, lies beside a skeleton. Gold once bright, now dulled by time, yet it retains a faint shimmer, as if the girl who wore it still watches the world from beyond the grave. You imagine her as she was, 14, trembling beneath the high priest's hands, full of hope, devotion, and unknowable fear. The archaeologists handle the relics gently, as though aware that they are touching not just history, but the echoes of lives long silenced. Each discovery evokes awe and sorrow. a reminder that devotion and exploitation, holiness and possession are intertwined across time. The temple may have buried their bodies, silenced their voices, and erased their names, but the past refuses to remain hidden forever. Papyri and ostraca offer fragments, half-erased hieroglyphs, lists of offerings, and the occasional name of a girl, ink faded by centuries. Merit Ani, Neferu, Satya, names that once resonated in stone halls now whisper through the desert wind. The rest are lost, swallowed by time, known only to shadows and silence. Archaeologists piece together daily life in the temple, records of grain and gold, of prayers and rituals, of the constant surveillance and control of the priesthood. But amid these dry, administrative notes, traces of individuality emerge. A prayer scrawled in the margin, a tiny heart-shaped mark etched into the plaster, evidence that the girls were more than vessels. They were minds, hearts, spirits, each one a universe contained within the temple walls. The more the archaeologists uncover, the clearer the paradox becomes. These sacred virgins were honored and exploited, worshipped and enslaved, visible and invisible. Their lives were a ledger of devotion and possession, and yet, even in death, their resistance whispers. The secret hymns, the small acts of defiance, the invisible traces of courage, all survived the centuries, hiding between the lines of what the priests wrote to control the world. You imagine them now, walking the corridors centuries ago, silent and unseen, yet alive in their small rebellions. Every step, every prayer, every subtle defiance was a mark upon history, invisible then, but indelible now. Their names may have been lost, but their courage remains etched in stone, in dust, and in memory. The final chamber reveals the last pieces of the puzzle. Alabaster statues, long ignored by the world, seem to turn their gaze toward the archaeologists. Candlelight flickers, dust motes drifting like spirits through the air. And in this quiet, almost holy stillness, the story of the sacred virgins emerges fully. The lotus crown lies beside the broken bones, an emblem of stolen innocence and stolen power. And yet, it also carries testimony, the silent defiance, the secret hymns, the courage that endured beneath chains of ritual and fear. The goddess, long silent, finally speaks, not in voice, not in command, but through the revelation itself, through the hands that uncover her past, through the eyes that see what was once hidden. She bears witness. The archaeologists pause, struck by the weight of history and the depth of sacrifice. They see the patterns of rebellion, the traces of individuality that survived the priests' attempts to erase them. And though centuries have passed, the temple's secrets are no longer silent. The sacred virgins are heard, remembered, honored, finally. You imagine them now, their spirits freed from stone and incense, walking through eternity with dignity reclaimed. The silence of the goddess becomes a chorus of justice. The temple's power over them has ended, but their legacy endures, a testament to courage, resilience, and the quiet strength of the human spirit. The lotus crown glimmers in the dust, a symbol of both chains and defiance. And at last, the goddess, in stone, in memory, in truth, speaks.